You guys let me know when you can see and hear us.
Don't forget to sort by live.
Yes. Let me do that real quick.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
I'm just getting through my ads, my pre-rolls.
Those important pre-rolls.
Oh my gosh. They really do help.
They do. How's everyone doing today? I know we're a little bit early today. We thought we would mix it up a little bit, give some of our European viewers a chance to maybe catch one of these live shows, because TechMed was telling us it's about 7 or 8 o'clock where they are in Germany, which means they can tune in.
I think it's 4 o'clock maybe in London. I don't know what time zone.
Well, we're getting
Germany
a lot of
is.
Australia. I'm seeing Norway. I'm seeing.
Well, see now, the Australians I thought were going to be the group that got left out, because when I looked at the different time zones, it seemed like those were going to be like 2 or 3 in the morning. So
okay,
you'll have to do some confirmation for us.
We got 9 o'clock in Greece. We've got Scotland, Belgium, 7 p.m. in the UK.
Okay.
So 7 in London, 8 in Germany, New Zealand. I mean, everyone. It's global now.
Yeah, well, yeah, and hopefully this works for our U.S. and North American audiences as well.
All right.
But we do appreciate you tuning in.
Yeah, thank you guys. Real quick, you held a poll yesterday.
I did. I did hold it's very important business.
The most important poll we've ever run.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little surprised that only like 2,000 people responded, but 65% of you got it wrong. I don't know how that happened. The question was, if you could only eat one food for the rest of your life every day, which would you choose? Pizza or tacos? And again, don't know, maybe they hit the wrong button, but 65% said pizza. Wow. So
I don't know if I would have picked either one.
Well, that was it. You just start giving two options. You know.
Now, is it okay? Hold on. Is it just tacos, or is it just more of a Mexican food in general?
It's a taco, honey.
It's just tacos.
A taco or pizza. Now the great thing
no
about
burritos.
No. I mean, the great thing about both is there's a lot of different variations you could do, but I do feel
tacos are a little
tacos
limited.
Are maybe a little more versatile.
What are you talking about?
I think they're more versatile.
Okay, all right.
Everyone, tell Andrew I'm right. I mean, yes, Lisa, sushi, and Pete, sushi would always be.
See, that's
above the.
That's where I'm at
the top of the list, but I tried to just. You can only choose. Oh God! Here comes a sneeze.
Uh-oh.
Excuse me. Oh, we're live.
Yes, we are. Anyway, well,
pizza.
We appreciate everyone participating in the fun little.
Yeah, I just wanted to make something. Give you guys a little fun thing to do. Everyone really likes to do polls.
Yeah, the last couple of polls that we've actually included in our videos, you guys have really popped off on them. So it's actually really interesting information.
Well, yeah, because we can post like a link to the video and really low engagement. I don't know what that's about. But hey, if we ask you if you like pizza or tacos, you crawl out of the woodworks.
All right. Well, let's get things started.
And just real quick, I don't know if you noticed at the top of your chat box, there is a pinned comment. Typically, we get a lot of questions on these. As a result, we do answer super chat questions first. I will be in the comments responding to other questions that are not super chats, so that we try to keep it fair. But that's how it works. And Andrew answers the super chats in the order they are received.
Yeah.
If you see your super chat comment that's highlighted go away, that doesn't mean your super chat won't get answered. It's a timeout thing. Like it's YouTube. It's not us.
Yeah.
If you have questions about how to do a super chat, those are in the description.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Improved Garage kicked us off. First of all, he said early today, nice, and we appreciate that. But he has a question.
What is it?
And it's a non-AV question. Well, I guess it technically is an AV question. I know that you guys are into cameras. Replacing the one I used for YouTube in 2024, Canon versus Sony. Should I consider other brands? Going from APS-C to full frame, so my current lenses won't matter. Well, I don't use Sony, and I used to be a Canon shooter, and I still very much love Canon, and I would be interested in trying Sony again. I was one of the original A7S like Gen 1 adopters, and that camera in its first generation was an absolute mess. But obviously I think it's on its third or fourth gen now, and it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. Heck, we just watched The Creator, which was shot partially or in full on Sony over-the-counter, call it over-the-counter camera. So obviously the quality is there. Anyway, we use Lumix cameras, S5 II, S5 IIX, that series to be specific. Is there something wrong? She's over here.
It's our sweet little Katie bear. Oh. She is right underneath the table and my feet, so I'm just trying to figure out where to put myself.
Gotcha. Anyway, we use Lumix cameras. Lumix is a division of Panasonic. It's not a sponsored thing or anything like that. It just happens to work out that way. I've been a Lumix shooter now for probably 4 or 5 years, and I really like them. I think value for money. There are things that Lumix cameras can do, especially the new S5 II and S5 IIX, that Canon and Sony and other companies still aren't able to do. So that's where my allegiances lie, that I would not buy here. But here's my tip. If you are going to look at Lumix, I know the S5 V1s are super cheap right now. I think they're like $8.99. I would not buy the first gen. I would buy Gen 2. And I would buy Gen 2 because Gen 2 now has the phase detect, face tracking, eye tracking, autofocus. The Gen 1 did not have that. And also the autofocus is absolutely best with Lumix branded lenses. It just is. Sigma lenses, even with the L mount, they hunt a bit. They look great.
Well, aren't those?
But they hunt.
You're talking about the art lenses, and those are really for still photography, aren't they?
Well, the art lenses were, yes, originally designed for still photography, but they are in the L mount. They are native.
I mean, they hunted when because I used to photograph weddings, and I really liked the Sigma art lenses. They were less expensive than I shot Nikon at the time, and they were expensive or less expensive than the Nikon comparable, but I thought a better image quality, but they did tend to hunt a little bit. And that, if you wonder what does hunt mean? Hunt means when the lens is breathing and it's trying to grab focus.
Yeah.
And it can't quite do it. So that's what that means.
You actually saw a little hunting in our last video. The last review that we did had a bit of hunting because I pulled one of my Sigma lenses out to give it a shot because I wanted to try a different filter. And yeah, sure enough, it was hunting. So if you want to pick up a Lumix S5 II or 2X, I do recommend that you get a Lumix branded full frame lens. Nice thing is they are co-designed by Leica, so the optic quality is absolutely amazing.
And that's my personal favorite camera. I have a Leica
Q2.
Is it the Q2?
You have the Q2.
Okay. Anyway, it's fabulous, but I know you guys want us to probably move on from camera talk. So,
but if you go Canon, if you do go Canon, the C70 is pretty much everything you would need minus a lens. There you go. Okay.
Real quick, shout out to KC Lai. I hope I'm pronouncing the second part of your name correctly. Very generously gifted a bunch of people who are watching right now, a membership. So that's so nice.
Thank you.
That pretty much happens every stream.
Yeah.
There's some member that shares in the member love, and we do appreciate that.
Yes. Bodie McBoatface writes, what AV toy exists that you may not need to own, but would love to at least play with for a while?
I mean,
I know what I want.
Honestly, I don't need this, and I don't even know if I really want it. But at this point, I would really like to experience the Nakamichi Dragon. I'm just gonna get this out of the way.
Why did you bring that up?
Because I know there's probably at least one person asking about it, but
just derail the whole stream.
But I mean, I do, because look. I'll give Nakamichi one thing. They have been masterful at this release, making quantities so limited that it creates this mystery and demand for a product. You know, whether it's good, I don't know. I mean, I know it has some shortcomings just looking at the specs on paper that nobody seems to be talking about, but I would like to hear it, because
I would like to hear it.
If it's as good as some people claim,
yeah,
then I mean, I would like to be able to share that news with the people that watch this channel. I think that besides maybe Caleb, who reviewed it first, we have a lot of experience with soundbars.
Oh yeah,
and so I think that we are more than qualified to cover that cover a product like that.
Yeah, I would agree. Sorry, I'm going to adjust my chair. It's stuck on the rug here.
Anyway, that's what I would like.
Yeah, and I mean, I would like to. I think I would like to experience it too. I get a feeling that I don't know. I don't want to speak out of turn. There's some things about that bar that are in black and white in the in everything that you can read, and I'm having a hard time wrapping my brain around why it's okay for certain products or brands to get a pass on certain features, tech, and whatnot, and then other brands, it doesn't matter if you spend $1 or you spend $100,000, they'll never get a pass. So why Nakamichi? People are just like, yeah, it's fine that it doesn't have Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or room correction or all of that, when you are literally paying the next highest price for a soundbar system this side of Bang & Olufsen, and the Bang & Olufsen has all of that stuff, and it should at $8,000 to $9,000, but you're at close to, what is it, $4,000 or $5,000, and it doesn't have what a $499 Bose Smart 600 can do in terms of feature set. Like that to me is like, if you're gonna make a statement piece, make the statement, and the statement can't just be, we have the most speakers or we have the most amplifiers, because ultimately the vast majority of people are going to enjoy something. This isn't directed at the Dragon now. The vast majority of people are going to enjoy something at a volume level of 65 to maybe 80, 82 dB, in which case half of that power isn't even necessary. And I would have liked to have seen good quality amps, but maybe less power, so that you could maybe afford the licensing, or I don't even think it's licensing. You could afford the heat of better processing, instead of burning it up in amplifiers. But these are the questions that I think need to be asked about this product. And it's also the questions that we've been very public about that I'm confident are the reason we will never get it. Anyway,
I don't know. I mean, as I responded to somebody in the comments, I have been trying to get anything from Nakamichi for going on 3 years now, and it's just we always get met with we don't have anything available,
while we see it appear everywhere else.
Right, and that's their prerogative to choose to send it to other outlets, and
And for the record, I'm not caught up on the chat, but for the record, if anyone's like, just buy it, trust me, about once a week, I check. I really do check with money in hand, and apparently my timing is just poor.
The one thing I want to know is, can you return it? Is if you buy it from, I think the only place to buy it is from them directly, but what is the return policy?
Yeah, so that's interesting, because I've wondered that too, because the few times that I've been on the site, that's like you can place your order or give them your email address and they'll notify you when it comes in stock. They're charging you now, but like the product's not even going to ship until Q1 2024, if that. And so at that point, like I will have paid for it on the Amex probably 30 or 60 days prior to even receiving it. And then at what point does the return policy kick in, blah, blah, blah. And if these are all coming direct, like, is it going back to the distribution center, hopefully stateside, or is it's got to go back on the water and make it all the way back to wherever before it's considered returned? And these are things that are kind of ambiguous on the site. So, okay. Bodhi, my portion of that question was the Dragon. I don't need it, but I would like to hear it. I also don't need a pair of Biolab 90s if I'm still running a channel, because they're like 300 pounds and they're kind of speakers you want to buy once and never unplug them, but I still want to experience them.
You know what I really want?
What do you really want?
And I think audience is going to fall out of their chairs. You may do as well. You may as well.
Okay.
I really want those Wilson speakers in the house.
Which ones?
The ones that
The Sabrinas?
I don't know.
The single piece ones, the smaller ones.
They're a little smaller. They don't look like the ATM.
The Sabrinas.
Machines.
Yeah.
I would really love to hear those in here.
2024.
They won't send us anything.
Didn't ask if they were going to send it.
We're not cool enough.
I didn't ask anything about them.
We are not buying Wilsons.
2024.
Oh my God.
I didn't say we were buying them. Just
okay.
Let me cook.
Let you cook? All right.
TechMed, sorry. Yes, thank you. I'm so glad you were able to join us. And thank you, as always, for just your generosity and your support. I do appreciate it. Okay.
We have someone from Romania in here.
Hey, my best friend from school is from Romania.
Oh.
Vinyl Joe. What a great name. Got Marantz Model 30 for my electrostatic speakers. You're right. It made a big difference with more power. Lost some warmth, but still fine tuning. Well, that's great. Yeah, electrostatics, they're weird, man, because those are speakers that on paper, like on the specs, it looks like you should be able to kind of get by with anything. I remember when I had my Martin Logan CLS2Zs, I want to say that while the sensitivity was like 86, 87 dB, they were like 8 ohm nominal or whatever. So I think the first amp I ever put on them was like a Parasound Halo A23, and it barely produced volumes higher than, I don't know, 65, 70 dB. I'm going off memory. But it wasn't until I think I got a Argon dual mono stereo amp that was designed, I think it was a design by D'Agostino back in his Krell days, but he gave a design schematic to Argon. Did they finally come alive? And so, yeah, electrostatics are weird like that. You can't always judge them by what you see on the specs. So I'm really glad that they're coming to life. The Model 30, if I'm not mistaken, is Class D and not AB like the Model 40N. And so I don't know. I mean, obviously you're going to, quote, lose the sensation of warmth because you're probably getting a far more analytical or linear neutral amp or, output from the 30 compared to the 40N. But just keep with it. Maybe add a tube preamp that might help you, or just grab the tone controls and take the bass tone control and just one notch and probably bring back a little bit of a sensation of warmth or so. But glad that worked out. Michael, when are you going to test the Nakamichi Dragon? I think we've been over that, Michael, at this point. But thank you very much all the same for your generosity.
And by the way, if you just tuned in late or something, just rewind it towards the beginning after we, tap out of this, and you'll see the full saga.
Yes, it is a quest at this point. Chad, hey guys, pizza was the right answer.
What?
Yeah, Chad, he put 10 on it saying pizza was the right answer.
Oh.
But his question
Chad.
is...
I I'll allow it, but
it's allowed.
With an asterisk as with you're wrong.
Stylus, phono cartridge, turntable, phono preamp, spending on which ones will yield the best sound improvement. Okay, in my experience, because I'm not interested in picking any fights with the vinyl community. In my experience, if I had to rate the importance of the things that impact the sound of a vinyl setup the most, it would be your cartridge, your preamp, the tone arm, platter, table motor. I consider those kind of one and the same. And I'm excluding from the table motor conversation, I'm excluding speed. Obviously, whether we use belt or direct drive, we want to make sure that our platter is spinning at a constant rate of speed. And I would consider any turntable that can't do that to just be bad. So let's just assume that of all the turntables and vinyl rigs that we're discussing here, they can all keep pace. Okay. Then cartridge and phono preamp, in my experience, assuming the rest of the system is dialed in, your room interactions and all of that aren't going to gobble up any gains and changes from the cartridge or preamp. But those two things have seemed to make the largest difference in sound quality. And I've managed to take, I've had $5,000 and $6,000 tables right next to $500 and $600 tables, but then use the same cartridge for each and the same phono preamp for each. And hey, Katie's making an appearance. And
I don't think you. Oh, now I can see.
The performance has been very comparable, not the same, but comparable. Sir Holmes writes, is she stuck?
I don't know.
What's happening?
What are you doing, honey?
Sir Holmes, how many?
Go sit down, please. No, not like that. Like lay down.
Sorry, guys. This is already off the rails. So how many HDMI ARC 2-channel integrateds are coming out? Who has the best audio as of right now? Is the new Technics really good with HDMI, or is it normal? I think going into 2024 and beyond, you will not find a 2-channel integrated amplifier worth considering without HDMI. I'm sure there will be some very ultra high-end boutique companies that can charge tens of thousands of dollars for their products, and because they sell on something other than mass production. They will probably be last to the HDMI party, but I think all of your major players and even some of the middle to high end players, I'm talking like Rotels of the world and things like that, they're all going to be coming to market either early or late in 2024 and beyond with 2-channel products that have HDMI. Now, will it have just the single input for ARC, ERC, or will they do what Marantz did with Stereo 70 and go like full HDMI switching? That I don't know. But HDMI is no longer something that I think on this channel, at least, you're going to hear Kristi and I begging for. If anything, we're going to knock you down hard if you don't have it in 2024, because it's coming out everywhere. As for the Technics, is the HDMI on that GX70 good? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And it is arguably the most flawless implementation of HDMI in a 2-channel product that we've experienced so far this side of what Yamaha did in their 1000A and their 2000A. And that's amazing, considering that Technics, to the best of my knowledge, has never done anything with HDMI on any product before. So usually when a manufacturer is first time out of the gate, it's pretty buggy. And the Technics was absolutely not that. So yeah, it was pretty good. I see the gifted membership, KC. Thank you. Alexi, love your channel. Guys are incredible. Thank you so much. Would love to see a Q Acoustic 5020. What could be a nice streaming amp with HDMI pairing options for them? 5020, that must be the bookshelf version of the 5040 tower that we reviewed.
Probably.
Because the 5050 is a bigger tower. So I'm guessing that'll be a 5020 bookshelf. I'm going to say, and I don't want to be that guy, but I don't know if that review is going to happen. Our review slate is pretty jam-packed, and to be honest, we just don't now that we only do 4 videos a month instead of 8, we just don't really have the bandwidth to go and do like every model in the line. So I have no doubt in my mind that the 5020 is fantastic. I've seen that a lot of people feel very strongly about it in the positive. We loved the 5040. Obviously, you know, we love the concept series from them, and we still have our concept towers. So yeah, as far as what would be a nice streaming amp with HDMI pairing, I mean, those speakers will run on everything from, let's say, a power node at $899. I want to say the 7000A from Audiolab. However, the 7000A does not have the streaming, and so I would push you, probably not push you, but I would have you look at the Yamaha 1000A integrated that has HDMI, has streaming built in, and it is phenomenal. And I think that price-wise, that's not going to be outrageous, you know what I mean? So if you can get Yamaha in your area, that 1000A is legit. Let's see. Did I catch up with? Oh, nope, I sure didn't. I knew I didn't. There's no way I'm caught up.
Oh,
there's no
real
way.
Quick, Roy Luster wants to know. You know Roy. He's always
Roy,
like,
he's always traveling.
Yeah. His question is Porsche 911 Carrera S or Porsche Cayman GTS?
Ooh.
I'm going to say neither. I want one of those old, like, 964s or something. I think that's what they're called.
Well, you want a vintage 911.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. When it comes to them, like, I know that I'm just a 911 guy. Like, I get that there are other products in their lineup that technically can outperform a 911, and that Porsche routinely just kind of neuters their other cars so that they don't compete or take over the 911. But there's something about just the heritage and the shape of the 911 that it'll always be my favorite. Mike writes, hello from York. Love your show. Any chance you're going to review the Rotel RAS 5000? Yes, there is a chance. Supposedly, although I have not gotten like a shipping confirmation, but supposedly one is on its way. So yes. And I'm very excited about that product, to be honest with you. I had to find out about it from one of you guys. So I really am trying to work on how do we make sure that we get notified of certain things. But once I tracked down a Rotel rep and got the information on it, I'm pretty excited for it. I think it's going to be an interesting product. Yeah.
Do you have the promo queued up?
Let me get through one more question.
Okay.
And then, yes, I have that ready to go.
Okay.
All right. Dro Lands writes, looking to upgrade floor standers. V-shaped, $500? I don't know what that means.
What, V-shaped? Does he mean like the frequency response?
Let's go with that. Go with that.
Are they?
Yeah. I mean,
well, good news, Dro. We found your super chat.
Yeah.
I had responded to them earlier because I didn't see it. But
okay.
V frequency response. So it's got to be like a
V-shaped
dip.
Frequency response floor stander.
A dip in the mids?
Sort of. Just boosted bass and treble. Floor standers for $500.
Boosted bass?
I mean, I don't want to recommend this, but if you're shopping at around that price point and you want a specific you want that rock V-shaped curve, Klipsch Reference, not Reference Premier, but Reference tower speakers are, I think they're the 800Fs. those will do it. I am not endorsing that speaker, but you are asking for something very specific, so that is why I'm pointing you in that direction. You could go with some Yamo C series. Chances are you'd be able to snag those from a place like Crutchfield that has them on like permanent sale. Those will be a little bit of a nice V. Not a super deep V, but a nice V. Yeah. That's where I would go. That's where I would go. Okay, guys, really quick, I just want to...
Well, someone had asked if we were going to share any like Black Friday deals, I thought this would be
This is a great segue. Yeah. All right. So we are going to share because, well, I'll just let them do the talking. How about that? Here we go. Queuing it up. So yes, that is the Black Friday promotion from Arylic that we have to share with you guys. And again, the link is in the description just below where you're watching me live if you want to take advantage of that, because it is going on right now. And they got a couple of new products out that are really exciting. We have a few of them in-house. The little HDMI equipped preamp and integrated that they have is pretty good, especially if you're in a smaller space. Definitely worth checking out. So thank you, Arylic, for sponsoring that little bit of today's live stream. And now I think we get back to it.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
We answered that question. So Carlos is next. Just starting my AV journey with a Marantz Cinema 50. That's a heck of a start, Carlos. Cinema 50 Klipsch 600M Mark II and a gifted SVS sub. Boy, you are on fire today. I'm wondering what center might pair well with this. To be perfectly honest, I would just get the matching Klipsch RP center that is designed to go with your 600M. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it is very good, and that is what I would pair with the 600M Mark IIs. There you go. Just starting your AV journey. Alrighty, let's see here. Tommy's Shine Box. You guys and your names. He pulled over this time. Good. Getting an X95L soon and a Samsung frame. Any thoughts? Read the frame and its aesthetic quality. It's not directed to the home theater crowd, but oh so lovely. We have a frame. We have the Samsung frame in our guest bedroom. I love the aesthetics of it. Same as pretty much everybody. There are three things, though, about the frame that no one really talks about in their review. Now, I don't know if we're going to review the frame, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let you in on these three things that I wish I knew about the Samsung frame before we bought ours. And yes, we did buy ours. Number one, the frame pieces do not come with the television at all. At all. And Samsung's frame pieces that you buy from them are not frames. They're not wood. They are plastic. They look the part. They look like wood until you get really up close and personal with them or pick them up and touch them, but they are not wood. So I don't want anyone who's like, yeah, I've been eyeing the frame, to think like when you get that light wood frame finish, which is going to cost you extra, and keep in mind, at least in our neck of the woods and beyond, places like Best Buy and whatnot, they don't actually stock the frame pieces. Like, you can go rock up to a store and get a Samsung frame TV, but the frame pieces are often MIA, and those are things that you're going to end up ordering through Samsung directly or Amazon. But they are not wood. They are plastic. And if you don't have your TV mounted just right, or it's on somewhat of some wavy drywall, their tolerance for the magnets are pretty slim. So you may have to fuss with them a little bit to make sure that they line up, just perfectly. So that's the first thing I wish I knew about the Samsung frame. The second thing I wish I knew is the low profile mount that comes with the television is really cool, but it's finicky. And if you've ever mounted a television on a wall, don't assume that you know how to mount the frame. I've probably wall mounted hundreds of TVs in my life, but I've only wall mounted one frame, and it was an experience all its own. So very carefully follow the instructions, use the template, measure 4 times, drill once, because the mount is a 2-piece situation, and it's very weird. But once you get it up there and it works, it's really awesome. And more mounts should actually be like it, because it makes centering and all that stuff really easy. Third thing, it has the Samsung breakout box, the One Connect box. That's how they get it to sit so flush, is literally nothing is inside the TV at all, not even power. So to get that super flush look, you're either routing the One Connect box to a credenza below it, or you're buying a special recess box that you're going to punch into your drywall to then put the One Connect box behind the television, and then the TV mounts in front of that. And that is extra. That is not included. Lastly, dirty screen effect. So I guess you're getting 4 things. Dirty screen effect with the frame is very real. It has one of the worst panel uniformity situations that I've ever seen in a television. But know that that's only if you are one of these people that watch test patterns. And no one watches test patterns, right? No one watches test patterns. But if you are one of these people where it's like you throw on a bunch of test patterns and that's what you decide whether or not to keep or return a TV for, this will fail. This will fail. Now, once you watch real content and all that stuff, none of that matters. It's good. It's matte. It's not going to be very punchy because of its matte screen. But if you throw on a white pluge pattern or a 50% gray pluge pattern and go corner to corner with it, it's going to look real bad. It's going to fail. Other than that, I like it. X95L is better though. Just a little bit different. TechMed. Sorry. There it goes. There it is. There is a new contender in the market of active streaming loudspeakers. Will we see review the colorful PSB Alpha IQ with HDMI, Blue OS, and wireless connection between the 2 speakers? I'm not saying no. You won't see it before the end of the year. How about that? We're booked up for the rest of 2023. So anything like your questions like this, these are all going to be 2024 questions.
But PSB, is that Paul guy?
They're Lenbrook, NAD, PSB.
But isn't PS? Oh no, I'm thinking of PS Audio.
You're thinking of PS Audio. No,
okay.
PSB. We had their flagship tower speakers back in Austin. Those big black ones.
Got it.
They make great stuff. They really do. They're not as widely distributed in the US as they once were. Okay. I mean, it used to be Paradigm, PSB, just back and forth. I am looking at them. It is something that I am considering for 2024, but nothing has been cemented yet. I do like that they're colorful, though. I do appreciate the forward thinking there. Joey the Dime says you retracted your question. I appreciate the support. If I see you show up here with a question, I'll do my best to remember to answer it. But yeah, your question went away. Matthew, I have a name unity. I apologize for the plane. I have a name unity Atom paired with the Focal Aria 926, but I find I'm lacking some bass. Would upgrading the amp to a name unity Nova help? I can't say for sure because I don't have any experience with the Nova, so I'm sorry. I will say this: we recently reviewed the Name New Classic 200 series or 300 series, and there was a stereo amp in that. Now, granted, that amp I want to say was $7,000 or $8,000, which is more than a Unity Atom. And it had great bass. I loved that amp. Arguably, it is the best component in the stack that they sent us. But unfortunately, I can't speak to the Nova because I haven't heard it. And I would hate to say, yep, you're going to be good, and then turns out nothing is different. So unfortunately, I don't know how else to answer that. But thank you so much. And I love the Atom. The Atom is great. I'm a little bit surprised that you're having bass shyness with the focals, but you know, stranger things. Let's see here. Jumped on me, guys. Hold on. There it is. Tony Z. I'm loving the Canadian stuff I'm seeing here. Andrew, looking at getting the Golden Ear Super Sub X to replace what I have. What are your thoughts, and have you heard it? Great show as always. I have not heard it. Apologies for that. The last time I heard anything from Golden Ear, Sandy Gross was still at the helm. From what I understand, Golden Ear is now owned by AudioQuest, and I don't believe Sandy is involved. Don't quote me on that. Maybe he is. So the last Golden Ear subwoofer that I had was his first line of subwoofers, and this is going way, way back. And it was fantastic. It was shockingly good. It reminded me a lot of like the Sunfire Super Cubes from back in the day, or the Definitive little micro subs. So it was very good. I don't know anything about the Super Sub X, to be honest with you, but bless you.
Excuse me, guys.
But if it's based on any kind of design that maybe Sandy had a hand in back in the day, I have no doubts that it's probably going to be pretty decent. So, PCM or pass-through from Stephen asks, or Stefan, sorry. PCM or pass-through when using a 2.1 setup. Honestly, it kind of depends on the piece, you know, and it also kind of depends on what connection you're using. With optical, I mean, with most TVs, if I'm running apps out of my television for stereo, I just force the PCM, because sometimes when you leave the TV's digital audio output and say auto, you just get random noise through your connected device. But when you select PCM, everything sounds fantastic. So it really does depend on the television I may be using, or the connected digital device, or even the integrated with HDMI. I don't believe the Yamahas care. I know the Technics cared. Trying to think of other components. The Audiolab 7000A definitely cares. You want that in PCM. If you leave it in auto and hope that your devices figure it out, you get static noises. Like, it sounds like an old fax machine. So yeah, just yeah. I don't necessarily have a preference, but I just know that some devices require me to put it into PCM. Let's see, Joey the Dime. Do you do much testing of phono cartridges, and what sonic attributes do you prefer in a cartridge? Any recommendations for removing Coil cartridge in the $1,000 range? I have all but gotten off the turntable merry-go-round as of about a year ago. It's not that I don't care about turntables or anything like that. I'm super happy with what I have. It works for me, and I'm at that level with them where the only way that I'm going to have a quote night and day better experience is if I invest probably $5,000, $7,000 into my rig, and I just don't want to do that. I love vinyl, I love records, I have a record collection, but I'm not a candidate for a $10,000 rig. So knowing that my journey for vinyl records stopped at the Ortofon 2M Black or 2M Black Beethoven edition cartridge. Yes, there is a difference between them, but those, as far as moving magnet goes, the black cartridges were as good as some of the more esoteric cartridges from like Grado and whatnot that we were sent with turntables back in the day, which is why I ultimately sided with the Ortofon. As far as moving Coil, The only moving coil that I use is the one that is attached to my Cambridge Audio Alva TTV2, which I know you can buy separately from Cambridge Audio, but beyond that, I don't want to speak too much about moving coil because honestly, that's not where the bulk of my experience lies. So I really like it. It's a great cartridge. The Alva TTV2 from Cambridge is all-inclusive. It's borderline take it out of the box, plug it in, and it works. It has Bluetooth connectivity, which I absolutely love, which is why if I have a turntable out and I'm listening to records, I am actually using that turntable 95% of the time at this point because the built-in phono preamp is really good. It doesn't need a built-in phono preamp, so I can switch it so that I use the preamp in whatever device I'm testing. And it also has Bluetooth, so I can literally have the record player on the credenza behind me and it can speak to components that are down here and it doesn't take up any extra room. So that's why I really advocate for that particular turntable. And the cartridge comes with it and it's absolutely fabulous. All right. Matt Casey, I think, is next. Yep, he is. Going from a Denon 4300H, would you recommend Marantz Cinema 50, Denon 3800H, or Denon 4800H, HDMI 2.1 requirement, monitor audio bronze? I'm going to say, look, I think any of the three that you have laid out are going to work with the monitor audio bronze. I am going to say that my personal pick would be the Cinema 50. And it would be the Cinema 50 because I just prefer it, me personally. I just prefer Marantz's latest crop of everything to Denon.
I agree. Now, from my perspective, I feel like Denon has a more reserved or laid back sound. And it's just not my personal favorite.
Yeah.
And I do prefer Marantz just in general.
Yeah.
Over Denon.
Now the new Denon receivers this year for 2023 have been very good. I just still have a preference for Marantz. Lisa, considering either Apple AirPod Pros or Apple AirPod Pro Max, prefer over the ear. Want great sound cancellation, good volume, and spatial. Their over-the-ear headphones, the Apple over-the-ear headphones are fantastic. I don't have them, but I have demoed them. I have their in-ear Pros, and I love those things. They are spooky good, but you prefer over-the-ear. The only other over-the-ear that I would have you look at, if you can still get them, is the Sony XM4. I know there's a Sony XM5. I have both. The 4 is, in my opinion, it's better and it is way more comfortable. If you could still snag a pair of 4s, if they're still rocking around in certain stores, no doubt are they going to be way less expensive than either the Apple or the XM5s from Sony. But I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. It might not be a bad idea to maybe give that a shot. See if you like them. They do work fabulously with Apple products, by the way. The XM4s and the XM5s for that matter. But maybe try that, because if you could still find a new pair in stock, if you end up liking them.
The XM4s?
The XM4s,
I just gave her a link.
Yeah,
there.
if
you can still get a pair.
If you end up liking those, they're going to save you hundreds over the Apple.
I love them too.
And they fold up, they collapse. The Apples do not collapse. So if you need something that travels, the Apples kind of force you into a little purse thing, whereas the XM4s borderline fold up into your pocket.
Yeah, and I agree. I like the XM4s over the 5s. Mm-hmm. For some reason, they just aren't. The 5s, the newer version, are not as comfortable.
They're
I don't
not.
know. They look the same, but
the headband is different. And that headband, at least for me, it just drills into the top of my skull. It's like that scene in Burt Wonderstone when Jim Carrey's just right in the head. So
random.
It is. Anyone see Burt Wonderstone? I'm the only one? Cool. All right. Wirehead, any thoughts on higher end home theater PC configurations? I used to have a home theater PC. I used to make them, and they were great. I used to run J River and had a whole movie server and the whole bit. That was back before things like Apple TV 4K existed, and so that was kind of the only way to do streaming without spending like 50 grand on a Kaleidoscape. Nowadays, though, I have no opinion on home theater PCs. I really don't. I don't think they're the necessity they once were, and they were always a little bit of a headache. Like, there were some days where it's like, when it worked, oh, it was impressive. It was impressive, and it was a great way to impress guests and stuff, because I had a whole little mini Samsung commercial touchscreen above my home theater PC. It was all rack mounted, looked really trick. But when it decided it just didn't want to play nice that day, I had to suddenly become like Geek Squad, and I don't miss that. I really don't. So those are my thoughts on home theater PC. I honestly, I don't know if there's any third parties even making them anymore. So Eddie Alvarez, 5 to 10K endgame speaker, clarity, air, smooth mid-range, accurate bass, listening preference. What do you recommend? 5 to 10K endgame speaker. I mean, at that price, honestly, I still have not found a speaker this year, at least, that has made me want to go away from the R11 Metas, the R11 Meta Towers from Kev. They're still unbeaten. In fact, they're just out of frame here. They are near as makes no difference at their price point. Perfect. I know some people may argue like, oh, but they don't play down to a true 20 hertz. Okay, they don't. But they go down into the mid 30s, and they do so with such neutrality and control that so long as you put a good solid 75 watt or so Class AB amp on them or higher, if you want to buy an amp that's comparable to their price point, you are going to have a speaker that sounds great with all genres of music, and I truly do mean that. You're going to have a speaker that is unflappable at all volumes, and you're going to have a speaker that causes zero listener fatigue while still being pretty airy. So yeah, that would be 5 to 10 grand. I would say, I think they're what, $6 grand a pair? So you're on the lower end of the spectrum, and yeah, I still haven't found anything that this year at least that outright beats them. Let's see. Phil Robb says, are you going to review the Musical Fidelity A1? Just ordered one on a whim for fun and have yet to listen to an all Class A amp. What is your favorite speaker for low wattage Class A amps? I don't have any plans to review the A1. I remember the original A1, not the one that's just been re-released in the same skin. But I had experience with the original A1, and it was a very good product. It was a very good product. But I don't have any current plans, and I have not requested the new one. As far as do I like Class A amps? Absolutely, I do. 100%. They're great if you can manage their inefficiencies with respect to heat dissipation and things like that. They need room to breathe, like not like a speaker where it's like, oh, don't put it in a corner. Like, they need ventilation. Like, that sucker's gonna get hot, tube level hot, to be honest. At least the old one did. As far as favorite speakers, I mean, look, our Klipsch Cornwall 4s, that woofer definitely benefits from a slightly more powerful amplifier than, say, the Deckware. All that said, I'm willing to give up just a little hint of bass extension, or that last quarter octave that only a more powerful solid state's going to bring out, in favor of I hate to use such flowery language, but there's a a sensualness to that single-ended triode amp and Klipsch heritage speakers. So if you're looking for something to put with a Class A solid state like the Musical Fidelity, maybe peep the Forte 4s. That's still the best value for money heritage speaker in the entire line. Notably better than the Heresy 4s. Same mid-range and tweeter that's in the Cornwall, but you're getting it for $2,500 less. And the form factor of the Forte 4, it's just easier in more living spaces. So maybe check that out. That could be an endgame combo, to be perfectly honest. Hey, wait a minute. I can't ask my own question. Andrew R. was checking out some Macintosh integrated amps the other day. I have Klipsch Forte 3s and really love the Macintosh MA 12,000. Any thoughts on the MA 12,000? My speakers are less than a third the cost of the unit. I would need to look up the MA 12,000 or 1200. Maybe Kristi can pull that up on her screen and just remind me in a picture what that is.
What am I looking for? Macintosh
MA 1200, I think. He has 12,000, so maybe this is 12,000. I don't know. Hold.
Say 2-channel hybrid integrated amplifier design.
Can you just show me the picture? Like swivel your screen around?
Yes, I can. One moment.
Because once I see a picture, I know what we're talking about. Oh. Oh, damn.
That's a lot.
So
it's 350 watts.
Okay. You know that you don't need that much power with Fortes.
Oh, God, no.
I mean, you can. It's okay. That's not going to like make the speakers explode or anything like that. It's nothing that dramatic, but you don't need all of that. Like you could get by with like the 7200, which would even then still be overkill. I don't know anything about the 12,000. I have not heard it. But if it is anything like the Macintosh 7200, I absolutely love it.
Yes, it was really good.
It's something that still occupies space in my mind rent-free because it is so good.
And Andrew R., I linked to that 7200 for you in the chat box if you want to go check that out.
Okay. Lucas, are the 350... Oh, okay, wait. Is the 350... I'm going to say, I think you meant to say, is the 350 euro more for the Cinema 60 worth it over the 70? What does the 60 do better aside from more power? Okay. The Cinema 60...
The 60 is one we haven't
reviewed. Yes. In my opinion, I would go Cinema 70. Or if I was shopping Marantz on a budget, I would go Cinema 70. And then I would, like I think I said in the review, skip the 60. I haven't reviewed it, but skip the 60, then go to the 50. Because you have to go to the 50 to have all of the room correction options. You obviously get more power. You obviously get more channels, blah, blah, blah. But if you are, based on what I remember from the specs that I looked at on the 60, I did not see a reason to get it over the Cinema 70, especially if you know that you're going to add, say, a third-party multi-channel amplifier like a Emotiva Basics or something like that.
I just linked to that review in the chat box.
Okay.
So if you want to open that and then watch it later in your own time, I think that would be really helpful for you.
I'm seeing a member question here really quick, and it just caught my eye right under Lucas's question. It just says, "Hi, Andrew, Kristi, can you do a review of the Hisense U7K television, please?" I really appreciate you asking nicely to do that review, but we probably will not. Sorry to disappoint anyone. I don't think that I can recommend Hisense right now, given that we just reviewed their tippy top of the line flagship TV, and it had the problems that it had, and it continues to have the problems that it has. I don't know how those get solved in their less expensive products. And in talking with other people and other Hisense users sharing their experiences. It doesn't sound like it has or that it will. And so from that standpoint, I just kind of have to put a premium on my time and your time, and frankly, the audience's time as well. And I don't want to necessarily review something that ultimately may have the exact same flaws I already know to exist in the hardware, and that I've shared with all of you, because it's just not going to benefit anybody. So I just wanted to answer that really quick. It was right under Lucas's question. Sleeper 1023 became a member. Thank you very much. Any PMC speaker reviews on the horizon? There aren't any in the works, but it is a brand that I do want to reach out to in 2024 to see if maybe we can't get something in-house, because I have known about PMC for a while. You guys have been asking about PMC now for a couple of streams. And so in 2024, I do want to, hopefully, it's going to ultimately kind of be up to them. I do want to hopefully see that change and have something from them on the channel at one point. Let's see. Hope you guys don't mind. I need to take a quick drink. Thor. I'm planning to use Sonus Faber Lumina 3s as fronts with the Lumina center, but want smaller speakers for surround. Any recommendations? That would be a nice fit. P.S. I lost my hammer a few years ago. Okay. Well, you could always use Lumina 1s as surrounds. I would say you can use Lumina 2s. That's what we use. We love them, and we have the Lumina Center as well. But if you're looking for something smaller than even a Lumina 2, the Lumina 1s are smaller and... Sorry, Kristi bumped the mic. For those of you wearing headphones, probably just got a little jolt.
Sorry.
Her spatial awareness is not great. And I love this girl with every fiber of my being, but she is not...
Amazing.
She is amazing, but spatially aware, no. Anyway, I would say the Lumina 1s. I think they're about $8.99 a pair. Other than that, I don't know if you can do in-walls or not, but there are comparable Sonus Faber in-walls. I mean, that would obviously save you the absolute most space, but that's what I would do. Just keep it all in the family. Oh, jumped on me. I knew it would. Just about the time I'm starting to feel really good about being good at my job. It jumps.
Don't ever feel good at your job.
No, never. Cedric writes, better replacing Denon 3700 X3700 by Marantz Cinema 50 or go for Ever Solo DMP A6 with XLR to the power amp, or just wait till 2024. I mainly use Kovas for music. Okay, you're mixing a couple of things for me here. So you have a Denon X3700H. Should you replace it with a Cinema 50, which is a home theater product? Or should you go to the Ever Solo A6 and run XLR to a power amp, which would give you a stereo product? And you mostly are, it appears, stereo only? Yeah, that one I don't really know how to answer, honestly, because you're trying to get at a problem through two completely different ways, and I don't know why you have a receiver then, unless you also need it to do home theater, in which case I wouldn't steer you towards the Ever Solo with a separate amp just for music if you know you also need home theater. At that point, might as well get yourself a comparable streamer or something if you don't like Hios, and just do that into your Denon or Marantz Cinema 50 so that you don't lose functionality, if that makes sense. So that's the best I got. It's kind of an ambiguous question, but that's the best I got for you. Dwayne, what's up, fam? What's up with you? What are your favorite audio conventions? I've never attended one, but I'm interested in doing so soon. I'm on the East Coast, but I might travel. To be perfectly honest, I hate shows. Like, I do. I really do. And I hated them back before like YouTube. I've been going to I had been going to trade shows since 2000. My last trade show was in 2016, I think. CEDIA 2016.
You went to something when we met.
So 2017. Okay. CEDIA 2017 in San Diego was my very last trade show, and I don't miss them. I don't like them. They are fun. They are fun. They are a great way to kind of get absolutely inundated with product. It's not a great way to experience products, in my opinion. I never form an opinion about the way something sounds, looks, feels off a trade show. Not to say that I haven't enjoyed the sound of certain things at trade shows, but I've also really liked the sound of something in a trade show, gotten it in home for review and been, well, that's different. And vice versa. There's been things that I've seen at trade shows that I was like, I don't get what all the fuss is about. Then I got it home and I was like, whoa, I love this. So yeah, that part is a bit rough. Even pre, pandemic type stuff, trade shows were a great way to get like all the disease at once. Even, like I said, even before what we just went through in 2020 and beyond. CES, the running joke with CES, the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas every January, the running joke with that is everyone came home with the quote CES flu. And I wouldn't wish that on anybody because it's some of the sickest I've ever been in my entire life. And it happened every single year. You get flu shot and get whatever. And one of the writers that we took to CES one year got a full-on staph infection and almost died. True story.
What the hell?
Yeah. No, he got a staph infection from a hotel in Vegas that was hosting many, many rooms at a very high premium. And 6 weeks or so later, he was in the ICU. He lived, but he had complications from that infection that lasted years. I still get kind of like, I get anxiety around crowds. So trade shows have always been kind of challenging for me. And the other thing that I don't like about trade shows is they're always like, I mean, I get why they're in hotels. It is a way of kind of, killing two birds with one stone, I suppose you could say, but it's just not an experience, especially on like the high end. It's so hard to kind of take a luxury marquee blue chip brand like a Wilson or a Boulder or a MBL or a Magico. It's really kind of hard to take them seriously when literally in the same crappy hotel carpeted bad drapery mattress leaned up against the wall or pulled, but the headboard's still nailed up. Like it's hard to take that brand seriously when it's literally one room over from like an Eversolo. Nothing against Eversolo, but that's the way that hotels kind of work, is it's like, well, you get these 3 floors, and sometimes brands will splurge and be like, can I have the ballroom? But not every time. And so you're literally going to go from $100 speaker to $100,000 speaker. And I'm sorry, that's not the best juxtaposition. It really isn't. And that's one thing I don't love about trade shows. Now, people are free to disagree with me. Go ahead, fire off in the comments. Because you may sit there and say, that's the best way to judge, because if I go from a $100 room to a $100,000 room and I'm not just blown away, and it has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not you're blown away. It has everything to do with just, I don't know. There's just, let's just put it this way. If you were to go to, rest in peace, Brooks, but if you were to go to Brooks Burdan Limited back when they were in Monrovia, California, and experience Wilson Alexandria's in his run-of-the-mill demo room, then take those same speakers and put them in a Hilton. I promise you, you won't believe they're from the same brand. I promise you, you won't feel the same emotions. And you likely will have a colored experience of an exceptional product. But same could be true. You could go in front of an inexpensive product that everyone on forums and whatnot is like, this is the greatest, but the crappy uplighting, 990 people packed into a room all talking over each other, and you could just be like, I don't get it. I just don't get it. So I get the appeal. I understand why they exist, but I wonder how many things have been made or broken by just the venue rather than the experience. Ask a question, get a monologue.
Yes.
Damon, how do you rotate between in-house speakers? Do you have a speaker wire selector box, or do you manually switch them out, like bring out a set at the closet? No. So we always maintain an amplifier that we believe to be of a reference quality that allows for A/B switching, so that nothing else is in the signal chain except what we are experiencing. I've used switcher boxes in the past, and maybe it's just me, maybe this is my own prejudice, but I have a very serious fundamental problem with, because I know there's like switcher boxes on Amazon and that people are making videos of on the internet. I just have a fundamental problem that, let's say I'm evaluating two pairs of $10,000 speakers, and they're both connected to a $49 switcher box that then is fed into a $7,000 amplifier. I don't know why. Maybe I have nothing to be afraid of. Maybe some of you will sit there and say, that's all snake oil, Andrew, you're buying into it. I don't know, but it just seems to me like that's the weak link, and it could potentially cause for problems. That's why I prefer to always have an amplifier integrated or whatnot that allows for in-unit A/B switching. So for the better part of a year, last year, that was the Technics R1000. We relied on that very heavily. We relied on the 7200 at one point. We have the Yamaha 1000 and 2000s we've done that with. And even some of our amplifiers separates have that capability now too. So that's what I do. That's what I do. As for getting them in and out, furniture dollies. There's a line of very inexpensive but very strong furniture dollies. You can buy them at Lowe's or Amazon. I think we have maybe 30 of those things now. But everything in the review slate is on wheels, and then they only get moved off wheels when they're installed, and then they get put back immediately on wheels when they're not installed, and then we're able to just roll them around. It makes my life so much easier. It's arguably the greatest hi-fi accessory ever. Furniture dollies. Simon, considering Lumina 2s, I'd like Technics SU-GX70 based on your review, but dealers are telling me it's not powerful enough.
Oh my God.
Should go Marantz 40N or Stereo 70. My room is only 13 by 7. I sit 9 feet away. You're
For
fine.
For Lumina 2s?
You're fine.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, no, hold on. I will give you one caveat. One.
No,
I'll give you one caveat.
I give you none.
9 feet away. If you want to play your Lumina 2s at their, quote, peak SPL output, which I believe is around 111 dB. If you want to do that for 8 hours a day straight, the GX70 will not be enough. If you want to play your Lumina 2s at a reasonable volume and still have them kick ass, you're fine. You are fine. Not only are you fine, I hesitate to go back to this dealer.
Yeah. The Stereo 70, I think, would also work.
It would look,
right?
It does work. That's what we used in our Stereo 70 review. I mean, the Stereo 70 technically drove the Polk R700s to 100 dB in our space. We sit 11 feet away. Now, is it the best R700 experience I've ever had? No, but it did it. The GX70 drove our KEF R11 Metas, which are 4 ohms dip slightly below 4 ohm speaker, drove them brilliantly, absolutely brilliantly. Drove the 805D4s from B&W, which can be pigs. Drove those just fine. So if you have it in your budget to go with the Technics or Marantz Model 40N, those two options with Lumina 2s are going to be better than the Stereo 70. They are. But if you're like, oh, hold up a minute, you mean to tell me I can get Lumina 2s in a Stereo 70 and have 85-90% of the performance and save? Yeah, I am telling you that could be a possibility for you. Then Stereo 70. Now, the one thing that I will say about the Technics over both Marantz 40N and Stereo 70, the room correction inside the Technics is legit. It's legit, and it's by far the easiest room correction solution on the market right now, and it works.
I think somebody gets better points on something than the other.
Yeah, that would be my guess. Greg, thanks so much for the Martin Logan XT F100 review. Had ordered Golden Ear Triton 2 Plus, canceled, and got my F200s yesterday. Well, that's awesome. I mean, I think you probably would have been happy with either. I don't know anything about the Golden Ear Triton 2 Pluses. I don't know if they're comparable price-wise to the F200s, but I really hope that you enjoy your F200s as much as we enjoyed our getting to spend time with the XT F100s, because that speaker was amazing. It was very good and a lot of fun. And I know that there's certain music where Kristi still misses it. So let's see. Damon. For personal enjoyment, how much time do you spend listening to your B&W 805D4 bookshelves versus your KEF towers and Cornwalls? Percentage-wise, please. Well, Damon, this is a great question. However, I have to keep it real with all of you. We are approaching December. It is, I think we're like 2 weeks away from December. Our loan agreement for the 805D4s was up on December 1. B&W was gracious enough to let those speakers hang out on a more long-term loan so that we could use them as reference points for the remainder of this year. We had a window in our schedule that allowed me to do kind of a mass pack up and get stuff back before the loan periods were up, so that we obviously weren't going to be penalized or anything like that. And so the 805D4s have sadly been returned to B&W, and we thank B&W tremendously for letting those hang out like they did. That was very generous of them, but they have been returned and they are no longer in our possession. Now, the reason why I didn't opt to just buy them so that they could stay here permanently is I do have my eye on maybe something else in that series, but I have not made that decision yet. That's going to be more of a 2024 thing for financial reasons. We have a lot of projects going on right now, so I have to just kind of pump the brakes a little bit and maybe wait until tax time. But if I'm going to make an 800 series speaker my very own, as great as the 805D4s are, and they are absolutely fantastic, you know that they are, there's another speaker in the line that I have my eye on that I'm hoping we can get our hands on. So that's the story with the 805s. Now, when they were here, how much time did we spend listening? I will say this. They were probably evenly split between themselves and the KEF towers. The speaker we bring out the least amount is the Cornwalls, and that's not because it's bad. They're just massive. They are massive, and half the time when I use them, I'm also having to review a lot of other things, and they can just be really hard to maybe get out of the way to bring something else in for comparing and contrasting. So I would say, If we're going on 100%, we're going to go 40, 40, 20. But they really, B&W and KEF were always neck and neck as far as like what I would pull out. But yeah, the KEFs are here. These are ours.
The KEF R11 Metas are a more versatile speaker coming from a review channel standpoint, because they're a little bit more challenging to drive.
More full range.
And they're more full range. So they do a great job at testing other types of products. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times when we look at what we keep, I mean, I'm not trying to say we don't enjoy the KEFs, because we really do. We're never gonna keep something just because it's suitable for the channel. Yeah. But it does play a role, because we only have so much space to keep things, and frankly, like 95% of products go back immediately following a review. Yeah. So we have to be kind of choosy about what stays, because at the end of the day, this is a channel, and we have to use what makes most sense when it comes to all of the other products that we review, all year long.
And keep in mind too, when something gets put on an extended loan like the B&Ws did, like that's, some of you may be watching this going like, oh, that must be nice. And it is a nice position to be in, but understand that the liability is still ours. And so that is another thing to contend with, especially when stuff is getting moved around. Like a lot of people that buy 805D4s or any high-end speaker for that matter, you're going to install them and leave them alone. You're not going to touch them. That tower, the KEF R11s, you might move them 1-2 more times in your entire life of that speaker. We move speakers in and out every 48 hours or so. And that's not to say we only spend 48 hours with a speaker. I'm just saying to compare and contrast. Like we go through a lot of blue painter's tape, like this is where this was, then this and that and the other. And so when you're picking up and physically handling $9,000-$10,000 speakers every single day, that's a lot of wear and tear. And knowing that these are not ours and they are just loans and they have to be returned, I'm still on the hook for all of that money until they get back to the manufacturer, and the manufacturer is like, hey Andrew, we're good, everything arrived, thank you so much, really appreciate it, and blah blah blah. And so I have to also weigh a lot of that risk versus reward. Space obviously plays a role. I mean, heck, half of our house is now the channel. And it drives me absolutely crazy. It does. And I know it drives Kristi crazy. So these are all little things that kind of go into it. But we don't have the 805D4s anymore. Their loan period was up. Let's see. Ray, big difference between 3-way center and 2-way. Really depends who's making it. I've seen some 3-way centers where like it has a mid-range driver, but let's say it has a 1-inch tweeter and the mid-range is like 2 3/4-inch mid-range driver, and then it has say 2 6-inch woofers. Those types of 3-way centers to me don't often yield real results or demonstrably different results. But if you're talking about a center speaker like the Wharfdale Elysian Center, which is arguably bigger than some bookshelves or floor standing speakers.
Oh my God, it's enormous.
That made a huge difference. Arguably one of the best centers I have ever heard in my entire life. Period. End of story. Close the book. So you just kind of keep that in mind. So let's just put it this way. 3-way doesn't necessarily automatically make something, better. All right. Greg, I want to use the XPA Gen 3. Will the Cinema 50 run cooler in preamp only mode? It will. It will in preamp only mode. If you still are using amplifier channels inside the Cinema 50, it will still get warm, but it won't get as hot. But in its preamp only mode, over the HDMI board, it's still going to get warm, but the rest of the unit won't get as warm. Austin now has stereo swap meets. They are fun to meet other audiophiles. Do you wish you were back in Austin? That's so cool that Austin has that. That's awesome. And a stereo swap meet, or we did an Austin record convention when we were there. We made a video about it. Like, that was a lot of fun. The Austin record show or whatever it was.
Yeah, the record convention.
The record convention. Cool. That was fun. I enjoyed that. That was a lot more low key than, say, going to a CES. Do I miss Austin, Texas? I do not.
Nope.
Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit.
Keith, for a small home office, do you think a name Unity Nova and PROAC Tablet 10 signatures would be a good pairing? I have not heard either one of those, so I can't definitively say, and I don't want to say absolutely. Going off of memory, or what I know of the Unity Atom, so long as you don't pair it with a hyper efficient loudspeaker like, say, Klipsch La Scalas or Cornwall 4s, I recommend that amp for just about everything. Everything I paired with it sounds great. The only reason I don't recommend high efficiency speakers is the Atom has a higher noise floor. All name products, in my experience, exhibit tweeter hiss. I know name doesn't seem to care or wish that I would not mention that. But they do. They have a noise floor. It's not a deal breaker, but if you have a very high sensitivity speaker, you are going to potentially hear it. In which case, some people are like, oh, I don't like that. Or they might see that as a sign of poor quality, or think that it's a sign of poor quality, in which case, I just don't want to give you bad advice. Unity Atom is great. PROAC, it's been well over a decade since I've heard a PROAC speaker. I really liked it. So as long as they haven't changed the formula too much, I'm confident it too will be a great speaker. And so long as the two like each other, I think you're probably going to be okay. Luke. Andrew, can you please tell me your opinion? You got it. What would you choose? Beoplay A9 or separates for listening to music if you were spending the same amount of money? Beoplay A9, is that the new one? I thought the new one was the A8.
I can't keep up with all of it.
I can't keep up with it either, but let's make sure.
I'm going. I'm looking at. Oh, it's the one that I love.
The
one that we use outside.
Oh, okay.
I love that thing.
It is arguably the best speaker we've ever had, all things considered, in our home. Like, you use it more than any speaker we've ever had.
I would agree that is the
You have
case.
Commandeered it. It's yours.
It's outside.
It's your baby.
Under a porch.
Yeah.
And especially now that the weather is amazing, I'm basically out there. I treat it like my office. Mm-hmm. I have a little hanging chair. Katie comes out with me. We just vibe all day long on that porch. And I stream Apple Music to the A9.
Yeah.
And it sounds fantastic. It has an incredible amount of bass that is just surprising.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Would you choose it over separates for listening to music? For me, my only opinion, or my only question to your question would be, how much do you require or value the sensation of stereo imaging? More specifically, a phantom center. Because if you are one of these people that it's like the act of listening to two speakers creating a ghost orb of sound in the middle, if that's part of the listening experience for you, a single A9 will not do that. However, it won't do that because the center orb of music will have a physical speaker right there in the middle, and that can take some unlearning. As if you've only come from stereo, it can take some unlearning to be okay with there's a speaker in the middle and I'm hearing sound in the center. If you can get past that, I personally would love nothing more than to live with A9s or an entire BioLab ecosystem, because once it's set up, you've got everything where you want it in your home, It is bar none the easiest system to use in my experience, in my opinion. I love the A9. I cannot believe it sounds as good as it does, no matter where we put it. And the best part about it, it is arguably the most full range sensation at low level listening speaker I have ever heard. Like, it's got bass that you hear and sort of feel, but it doesn't like move air at low volumes. Now, if you crank it up, you're going to get some noise complaints. But you can still listen to like rock and electronica and stuff and feel the oomph, you know, at volumes hovering more in the upper 40s. And that is that's like its secret weapon of what makes it so great.
I want to answer somebody else's question. Wirehead was wondering if the A9 would be good for movie watching, for movie nights. This would be outdoors on a very large screen. Now, I'm going to answer that if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
Now, I don't think I would use it in that capacity, because I think you may have some lip sync issues. We have been using, or I have been using it to watch college football on Saturdays, because I think it sounds better than the little, what is that thing? Is it the Sonos Ray?
Yes, we had the Sonos Ray, which is Sonos's like entry, no frills soundbar. We just threw it out there because it was like, hey, it'll be better in TV speakers. And admittedly, it is. But yeah, the A9 is better than the $199
but yeah, and obviously there's a huge price difference. But
who's shocked?
Right. But the one thing that it does not do well is sync up with the sound. And so for me, I don't really care, because I'm just watching football and I can ignore that when the announcers, because most of the time the announcers aren't on screen, color commentators and all that. So it's not an issue, but I wouldn't use it to watch a TV show or movie.
Well, I'm going to throw a monkey wrench in that, because it is going to be somewhat television dependent, and it's also going to be somewhat dependent on what version of Bluetooth your other devices are.
So you mean like the TV?
The TV. So it has lip sync issues with a TCL 6 series, but I don't recall it having lip sync issues with the Sony. So your mileage may vary.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
It's not something that I would say. It definitely is not the same. Well, hold on. Bluetooth, you might have some errors. If your television supports AirPlay, or you use a device like an Apple TV 4K, you should be fine, because the BeoLab 28s were flawless in the lip sync department with our TVs back in Austin rocking the Apple. And I have not, to the best of my knowledge, I have not tried that with the A9, but Bluetooth could end up with some lip sync issues. Now, there are accessories at the Bang & Olufsen store that are like hubs that would cure that, but know that that's an added expense. So just keep that in mind. There are two quick questions here, and I am going to get back, but Lisa is going back and forth, and I'm with somebody here, and I just want to jump in. Very humbling question. What is headroom?
Oh, I tried to answer, but I think I got it slightly wrong.
Okay. Headroom is just, it's just extra capacity, if you will, to drive sonic dynamic peaks. So if you are, let's say you're using all 25 watts of a 25 watt amplifier to have a speaker play at 80 dB. These are completely made up figures. So we have a speaker and we're listening to it at 80 dB in room, and we know we're on a 25 watt amplifier, and at 25 watts, every single watt is going to our speaker. And it's a Hans Zimmer score. And suddenly he wants to just hit that bassoon a little extra hard. You know, he's going to take a deep breath and go really into it. And That
Why
means,
are you talking about bassoons
or whatever? You know, Hans Zimmer. Every song that he writes now is a robot fart. Anyway, and so if we're already maxed out on our amplifier, 25 watts, 80, and that music suddenly needs to go for a second or two up to 100 dB, what's going to happen is we don't have the extra wattage to get there. We don't have the headroom to get there. And so one of two things are going to happen. We're going to blow our amp up, or worse, we're going to blow our amp up and then our speaker, because we're going to clip, fry, blue smoke, and it's going to be really, really bad. So that's what headroom is. So most of the time, whether you have a 50 watt amplifier, 100 watt amplifier, 1,000 watt amplifier, most of the time you are using a handful of watts. You really are. Especially if you're watching content or listening to content that is mostly at the same kind of volume level, like a sitcom or whatever. But occasionally there can be those dynamic swings, those dynamic peaks, and believe it or not, to jump using 10 watts, to jump from something so immediately to a much higher volume only to bring it back down again takes a bit of power right away. And if you don't have that headroom in your amplifier, you're going to clip your amp, you're going to clip your speaker, or both. And if you do that too much, you run the risk of damaging your system. And sometimes it can only take one time. Sometimes it can take repeat. It doesn't matter. It's not something that I would play with. So that's what he means by headroom.
But it's not really something you need to be concerned about with headphones.
Oh, this is a headphone question?
Well, that was a follow-up from her.
I mean, it can happen with headphones. I mean, it just depends. If you're using powered headphones like XM4s or whatever, it's not something you need to really worry about.
And that was the case.
Okay, it's not something that you're going to need to worry about, because those are active headphones. They're going to have what's known as limiters in them, where if they sense that that's what's going to happen and the amp inside is going to get overdriven, it's going to automatically back itself down so that there is no possibility for distortion or worse, damage. Oh, hey, Joystick Gamers in the house. What are your thoughts on AI within the audiophile space? Do you think there's more potential benefits like optimizing your sound space, or does it feel like a slippery slope? I think AI or adaptive algorithmic learning has huge potential in the room correction sound experience. I don't want to see it in my content. I don't like the idea of AI being used in any of the artistic aspect. But if AI and adaptive learning and algorithms can real-time address room nodes, changes in a room, or better yet, identify where you may be in a seating position within the same room and always kind of be tailoring the sound based on that, I think that is cool. But that's kind of where I draw the line. I don't want to see it replace skilled craftspeople of any kind. So yeah, Joystick Gamer taking a break from his own channel to join us.
By the way, that's his brother.
Yeah, that's my brother Josh.
So yeah, he's given a little favoritism here because he didn't do a super chat.
There's nothing wrong with that. You guys should really follow him. His channel's fun. All right, Chris Veltman. 99% of speaker amp fill the same aesthetic need. Black box amps, white black walnut speakers. If you designed an amp speaker, what does it look like? I mean, it would probably be more sculptural. It would probably, if I were to design a speaker, I would want something that when it's out in the open, people don't necessarily know that that's what they're looking at. It would be wireless, powered, smart, because I wouldn't want anything else to just detract. I don't know. I would definitely have a lot more fun with materials. I mean, we're in the middle of very preliminary and not so preliminary on 3 different projects with the house. And so we've every spare moment that we have from the channel, we've been in like full decor, fabric, materials, design mode. And the more I get involved with that, the more I realize like how much I really love that aspect of design. And so I definitely, if I were going to do a speaker, I mean, I would definitely take the time to forge relationships with, you know, not necessarily speaker designers, but like fabric companies, you know, things like that, metal workers, because I just think that you're right. The vast majority of everything is exactly the same. Not to say that the experience hasn't improved over the years, but it's still the same form factor. It's still the same this, it's still the same that. And kind of going back to Josh's question just a moment ago, you can use tech to benefit, you know, benefit your situation while potentially minimizing your footprint, or if you maybe still end up with a big footprint, but, you know, use tech to your advantage. So if I were to design a speaker, I have to say it would probably lean more towards a Bang & Olufsen type thing versus, say, a Harbeth. You know what I mean? Nothing against either one. That's just kind of where I'm at. And I definitely would make sure that if you invested in something that I created, you didn't need anything else. I would try and make it as inclusive as possible. What is a good Jamoris? What is a good receiver? What is a good receiver to drive a pair of JBL L100 Classics that has dynamic sound? I'm currently using a vintage Pioneer 780, budget up to $2,500. Like a stereo receiver? See, that's the thing, is you say receiver, and my mind immediately goes to home theater, but it sounds like you're talking about a stereo receiver. So, well, you definitely would be, I mean, 2,500. I think the Yamaha 2000A is a little bit over 2,500. But that would work. That would totally work. Kristi's over here looking deep in thought. Is everything okay?
Yeah. And he's Jamoris says yes, stereo.
Stereo, yeah. 2,500. Dynamic headroom. I mean, dynamic sound. Well, I mean, the Model 40N will drive those speakers just fine from Marantz. The Marantz Model 40N will drive them just fine. Will it be like the most dynamic? It's probably going to be a little bit more sultry. The Yamaha will be a little bit cleaner, faster, dynamic in comparison. I did not have the 7000A and the L100s at the same time, so I'm not going to comment on Audiolab. And I didn't have the Roxon Atessa, but that little integrated did prove to be pretty Krell-like when we did have it. So that might be something to look at. Plus it has Blue OS built in. And I think that's going to be right around that budget. So maybe try those to start. Uh-oh, it jumped. It always jumps. Oh my gosh, guys, I am way behind.
You better hurry up.
Boy. Oh my God. This is about as behind as I have ever been. Okay, not going to shortchange you on some answers, but Mr. J. Davis, hi Andrew and Kristi. What are your thoughts on the Polk L600? I was looking to get the R700s, but I really like the premium look of the Ls. It would be paired with the Marantz Cinema 40. Look, the Legend series is great. I'm not gonna. I don't want to take anything away from the Legend series. I'm sure you can get them relatively cheaper than when they were at launch. That line is, I don't know if it's going to get a refresh, but it is older in the Polk lineup, so the value proposition is definitely there. Look, I haven't heard the L600, but given that the entire reserve line is basically the Legend series in a less elegant cabinet in terms of finish and all of that, by all means, I have no doubt that the L600s are great. Rich P, duh, best option. Oh, pizza. Sorry, he left a pizza mode. Pizza, not just. I was like, Rick, what did I do? No, pizza. Duh, best option. 11 channel. Okay, so 11 channel. Would you do 50 home theater, 50M separate, or AVR? Sony Anthem. Would you spend $3K for a used? Geez. Okay, you're going 702 signatures. All right, I'm gonna try and unpack this. 702 signatures need power. Period. End of story. Anthem is powerful enough. It's stereo stuff. It's integrated. It would be powerful enough for 702 signatures. But if you want multi-channel, in your case, I would say get a receiver with preamp outs or a processor with preamp outs, and get a separate amplifier that's putting out 200 some odd watts, at least to the main channels. You know what I mean? You can go with a Sony like 5000 ES and its preamps in a preamp mode and do that. But in this instance, if you went with, say, an Marantz Cinema 50 and like an Emotiva XPA, and you spec'd, say, the right and left channels of your XPA amp to be like their 300 watt monos, and then you did like the 150 watt blades for everything else, that would probably be your best bet for B&W 702 signatures. All right. Did you try Acoustic Center Sync on the ES receivers? Thinking of using it to complement my center channel, not replace it. We did use it. It's not the same as having a center speaker. I would argue it's better than nothing, but if you have a pair of stereo mains like KEF R11 Metas that have great Phantom Center on their own, I would still choose a Phantom Center over the TV speakers acting as a center if I didn't have a dedicated center speaker. As far as thinking of using it to complement the center channel, not replace it, you need to consult the manual of your Sony receiver, because I believe it's only the 5000 and the 7000 that allow you to do both. But the 3000, 1000, and SN 1000 don't allow you to do both. But I'm not 100% on that, so please consult your manual. Dell, based on your review of the Sony STR-1000, and I purchased one last week, may upgrade to the 5000 ES. I have Cornwall 4s and R4C3 arriving. How to use Apple TV Blue Sound Node together, or should I? Okay, awesome. So I will say with the Cornwall 4s and R4C, you may find long term that you will be better off maybe with the 5000 ES because of just the added flexibility of that product, just overall, and the better amplifiers inside it overall, because the Cornwall 4s are very revealing. That's all I'm going to say about that. As for how to use Apple TV 4K Blue Sound Node 2, Apple TV HDMI into one of the HDMI inputs. Go ahead and set it up however you want. You may have all of the apps that you need in the Apple TV interface, in which case you may find that you don't need the Node 2i, unless of course you're just like a Blue Sound power user or Blue OS power user and you need it for other reasons. But the Blue Sound node would go into the optical coaxial, because the HDMI, oh no, wait, I don't remember if the Node HDMI is ARC only, or I don't know. It's been so long. So yeah, but definitely optical or coaxial out of the Node into the Sony. Scott Taylor, thank you so much. Appreciate that. All right. ABX audiophile in the house. Cheers. I hope you guys have an awesome Thanksgiving next week. Cheers to wrapping up a great year. You too, man. You too. Thank you so much. We're going to be laying low, I think. I don't know if we have plans.
We don't have plans.
We don't have plans. It's just the two of us.
Plus, it's my birthday coming up.
It is your birthday coming up, and I've been trying to make plans, but
I have a hard time making plans.
She does have a very hard time making decisions.
I get overwhelmed by options.
Yeah, and when we say options, 2.
Be nice.
Martin Logan Aeon, love the sound, but miss the.
You know what it is though.
What is it?
I like to be at home.
You do like to be at home.
I like to be at home.
You are a homebody,
but
sure.
But I like to go places.
Mm-hmm.
But it's sometimes the planning aspect stresses me out.
It stresses you out, but at the same time, if I take it over, then I don't do the planning right.
No, you're terrible at it.
So even though I'm like, well, we're going to do this, we're going to arrive at this time, then we're going to be here. Well, what do we do once we arrive? Nothing. We're wide open. We can do whatever we want. That sounds terrible. Unravel the whole trip.
No.
She needs an itinerary.
Well, sometimes, yes. But I also like to stay in bougie places.
I have no problem with that. Some people, like Sarah Dietschy said it best. And it'll be a quote that I keep with me forever because it summed it up perfectly. Sarah's like, she was talking in a live stream, I think it was, and she was saying like, I don't want to be like super rich. I don't need a giant house. I don't need this. I don't need that. I want to be just successful enough that I can afford first class airfare and Postmates because she doesn't like to cook and she wants traveling to be as less or stress-free, painless as possible. And I heard that and I went, that is so bang on.
Yeah, totally.
Because like I wouldn't want the hassle, the struggle, the drama that would come with like, you know, some of the wealth that you kind of see where it's like, I'm on my 5th Lamborghini. I'm like, that sounds like a problem. That sounds, as much as I love cars, like some of these like YouTubers and they're like 50 car garage. I'm like, no, I'll take one. And even, and then I say that in my head, I'm like, I would take the one. And then I'm like, but you would never drive it. Like, where's the practical car? Oh, it's the Land Cruiser. Okay, yeah, the cheapest one. Yeah, I'll take that.
Oh, I want what is it we want now, or that I want now? When I say we, I mean me.
Yeah.
The Defender 2-door.
Yeah, you want a 2-door Defender, and because they depreciate faster than a cinder block will reach the bottom of an ocean, they're actually approaching the Volkswagen level of affordability on the used market. So, I would not be surprised if this one over here gets her Defender dreams because we're on the market for a car in the next, I think I've got 3 months left where I have to make a decision.
I don't think we'll end up getting it just because there's none available.
Well, there's none available in the exact everything that you want.
Right, and I need the everything that I want.
You need the everything that you want.
Yeah, so when I here's the thing about me. When I know what I want, that's what I want.
This is true. This is why it's taken us over a year to design a pool.
Not the most flexible to, you know, step out of the lines. Like once I make a decision, it's like, no, it literally took me 3 months to make this decision. Yeah. And now that is the only thing I can think about. No, I do not want the black interior. No. So does anybody get that?
Yeah, I mean, it's relatable.
Oh, and Lisa's asking like, or says, I would love to travel first class. And here's the thing. I had never flown first class until, what was it, last year? No. It was about 2 years ago.
I was there when you flew first class for the first time, and you were both happy and pissed. Pissed. Okay, so let me give a quick backstory. And I'm not bragging, but I got
He's bragging.
No. I got turned on.
Here comes the brag.
I got turned on to first class by my former boss, who would not travel any other way. But because we often had to travel together, and he liked to conduct work while traveling. He's one of these people that is more of a face-to-face guy. He would use his miles to bump my coach ticket up to first class. And back then, I'm talking 15, 20 years ago, first class ticket got you access to the lounges, got you access to everything. And this is pre-TSA and all that stuff. And so for business, whether it was because of my boss at the time or when I worked for the studios, Warner Brothers, Universal, stuff like that, they would fly me first class to like New York and whatnot. I was used to that experience. Now, when I left that world and I became independent and all of this stuff, I did not fly first class. In fact, I flew coach right next to the bathroom for 18 hours to get to Penang. Do not recommend that at all. Because I was one of those people where it's like, holy crap, I can fly to Singapore for $418? That's a deal.
I'm surprised they didn't make you load the bags.
It was just shy. And so, yeah, I don't recommend that. So anyway, we were starting to look for a new house, and we'd all been in lockdown and whatnot, and the opportunity came up where we discovered that first class tickets were actually, once they nickel and dime you over, choose your seat. Did you want to bring luggage? We realized that the first class ticket was only $20, $25 more per person than coach with all the add-ons.
Yeah, I think it's Verizon. There's a commercial. I think it's a phone plan commercial out right now that is bang on about what it's like to fly in.
Oh, the AT&T.
Oh, is it AT&T? Yeah. Where they're in economy.
And it's like, can I get something to drink? Sure, cash or credit. She's like,
oh, I'll just take water and like cash or credit.
Cash or credit for water?
I'm going to try to sum this up. Basically, Andrew's been telling me how great first class is for I don't know how long. I finally get my first opportunity to fly first class. Is it better than sitting in coach? Yes. But, sitting in coach is like getting punched in the gut. Anything is going to be a little bit better, but it wasn't this sort of.
It's not the
romanticized picture I had in my brain. When you watch movies and
because you don't even get to go to the lounges anymore.
Yeah, there's no lounge access. They're not bringing you hot towels or saying, "Hey, could I get you a cup of coffee or would you like some champagne?" No, there's none of that. You just basically get to get on the plane first and you have a little bit bigger of a seat. I'm still waiting on my ultimate luxury first class experience, but would I go back to riding in coach? No. People are crazy on planes, and if nothing else, I would rather sit in the front and just get in and get out. There are some benefits, but it's not bougie enough. Okay, guys?
It's not bougie, but at the same time, and I would urge some of you to look at this very closely, because I was shocked. Because I know it's one thing when you hear someone say first class and two things happen. You either go, oh, they're doing well, or you judge them. You know what I mean? But seriously, like once you factor in all of the little fees that go with coach, now it's not that much different in price. It really isn't. It can be shocking how not much of a difference, yet your experience and comfort level is going to be better.
Here's where I'm at now, Lisa. I'm on the semi-private train.
JSX.
JSX is an option. I think there's a few others, Aero or, depending on where you live. It's basically, it's about the cost of a first class ticket.
A little bit less.
Or, give or take.
Depending on where you're flying.
But you literally can show up, wait for it, 20 minutes before your flight.
Yeah, you just walk right up to the plane.
And if anybody remembers what it was like to travel pre 9/11, it's amazing.
Yeah,
it's so great. They basically land at the airport, and you get off the plane onto the tarmac, and then that's it.
You're done. You grab your bags basically at the wing and just keep going. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Highly recommend.
And if you are in and around the Texas, Dallas area and you fly JSX because that's their hub, the planes you will be on flying in and out of Dallas Airport on JSX are newer Embraers, and they are cush. The stuff that's currently rocking around the West Coast needs a little updating. I still wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah,
but
it's not a first class seat.
But the Dallas planes,
think more like late '90s Southwest.
No, it's a little better than that. But anyway, the Dallas flights are real nice. Okay.
JSX. Jerry, Sam, Zebra, Dwayne.
Zebra's a Z.
Xerox is what I meant to
Xerox.
say. Sorry.
JSX.com.
Rewind that. God damn it.
All right. Anyway, back to this question that's been on the screen for 20 minutes. Martin Logan, Aeon, love the sound but missed the mid-low punch. Replace with Cinema 50 Pre, Parasound A21 for power. I think, honestly, if you go with the Cinema 50 in a preamp mode, if you already have the A21, I would maybe experiment with adding a sub to those so that you can get all of the low bass energy, and that'll flesh out the bottom end, and then you can run like Odyssey or Dirac room correction to kind of make everything cohesive. So yeah. Vincent writes, thoughts on a 2.1 system consisting of Marantz Cinema 70, Focal 300, IW6, and an SVS. I think it would be great. I think you would be great. That Cinema 70 is a nice little piece, and if you ever need more power, just put the left and right main channels into preamp mode and add something like a Bass XA2 or an XPA2 Gen 3, and you're going to be styling. That Cinema and Stereo 70 line is, it's the business. Demond, do you like the SNK 90s arcade games? If so, what are your favorite? Thought you might mention. Oh, I love those old SNK. Like I remember coming up, used to be able to rent gaming consoles from local video stores, and Blockbuster always had like the NES and stuff, and I would rent that from time to time. Wasn't allowed to have a video game system when I was coming up, but I could rent one for like a weekend if I saved my money. But there was a local video store that rented the Neo Geo, and they had one in store, and you could pay like $5 and play it in store for like 30 minutes. And I would do that like while my parents ran errands, or you could rent one. And what was it? Samurai Showdown. I would play that game until my eyes bled. I loved Samurai Showdown so much. And then there was it Metal Slug? I think it was Metal Slug, which is kind of like Contra but better. Those games, absolute faves. Leonard, hi, both love the content. I'm looking for a 2.0, 2.1 setup, but full HD receivers seem to be a better deal. Compare RZ50 versus Marantz 40N or NAD C389. What would I gain in quality going the stereo amp route? All of these types of questions are really going to depend on two things. Number one, how good is the speaker room interaction? You know what I mean? Like, what are your speakers and how do they interact with your room? And the reason I say that is too often people have the wrong speakers in the wrong room, or they have it right, but the room's super reflective. And so they'll go with like an RZ50 and it'll sound great. It will. They'll use Dirac. Dirac will help clean up their problems, and they'll be fine. They'll be happy with it. But then they'll go on a forum or they'll come on a channel like ours, and someone will be like, oh, receivers can't do music, blah, blah, blah. And then they'll switch, they'll sell it, and they'll go to something that is more like a audiophile thing. And they'll be like, that led me wrong, everything. And it's like, because will you get potentially better components, a better quote sound quality out of a dedicated stereo rig if stereo is what you're interested in or most interested in? yes, the possibility, the potential for that is very great. However, just switching to that type of electronics doesn't mean you're going to get that, especially if so many other things in your system or your room and the speaker interaction, where you sit, blah, 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 if those are all out of whack. So there's this idea in our hobby where it's like, let's say you have an NAD C399 or whatever, $600-700 integrated Rotel R11 Tribute. And someone convinces you to spend 10x more money and get like an AccuPhase or whatever, and you plug it in, you're like, I don't really hear the difference. It's not because they're selling smoke and mirrors or AccuPhase or Luxman or Macintosh or whatever isn't better. It's just there's other things in the quote signal chain and in the chain between the speakers and your ears that are just going to demolish and swallow up any and all appreciable gains, where it's going to make you think or make you feel as if a $500 product is actually better than a $5,000 one, when in reality you've just taken the $5,000 product and forced it into a situation where no matter what, until other factors change, i.e. maybe your reflective room or whatever, you've dumbed it down to a $500 product. So just kind of keep that in mind. In that instance, if this is something maybe you're running into, a receiver is a great option for stereo, because 99% of receivers come with some form of room correction, and all room correction is attempting to do is mitigate that speaker room interaction to give you a better experience. Some are more successful than others, but that is why I often advocate for receivers, because the vast majority of people, even audiophiles, that just throw money at the problem, they're throwing money at the wrong part of the problem, and they're still never addressing the single greatest thing that is ruining their experience, and that is that their speakers are either in the wrong spot in their room, their proximity to a wall, this or that and the other thing, and it turns into a big mess. Steve writes, holidays coming up, anything on your wish list you would want that you wouldn't necessarily buy yourselves? Happy Thanksgiving. No, I not for me anyway. I think that we're definitely prioritizing certain things for our own home comfort going into the new year. So there's not a lot of gadgets or stuff like on our list. A lot of, yeah, it's more, we're more investing in our long-term physical and mental well-being, I would say, in 2024. But I wouldn't say there's anything on the list that we're not going to do. We'll figure out how to do it all. It's just, we're going to be patient.
Yeah. I mean, as far as buying things go, we're much more experience-based.
Yeah.
People, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, I'd rather go on a trip to wherever than buy another
speaker,
or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I have all the things I really need.
Yeah. If anything, we're trying to have less things.
Yeah.
John writes, non-audiophile friend asked me to build his home theater for him. Any simple alternatives you'd recommend over an A95L, HTA9, and SW5 subwoofer? I mean, the A95L is that, or like the TCL mini LED and a 98-inch. Those would be like two really solid go-to TV recommendations. You could go with the Samsung 990C soundbar system. That will compete with the HTA9. If you want something that's maybe a little prettier looking, that's still equally easy to use, you could go with the Bose Smart Ultra with the Bose Sub, was it 800? The only reason why or 500 bass module, but the only reason why I don't fully love that system is Bose has terrible surround speakers, and so it's not going to be as inclusive. Or, you know what, get a Sonos Arc, Sonos Sub, and a pair of Era 300s, and like a Sony A95L, you're good. Any one of those 3 or 4 options for a non someone that just wants to hit power on their TV remote, have channel up and volume and not have to fuss with it. Those really are the best solutions. Bernie, had it, there it is. Good day. Any chance you might get your hands on the new NAD M66 anytime soon? If we do get it, it's going to be in 2024. We don't have it currently. I have not reached out to request it. That's going to be a 2024 ask for sure. Let's see. Yep, some dealers are absolutely full of... Yep. I had a dealer try to sell me 8 acoustic panels at $1,000 a piece. I walked out. What are some acoustic panels you recommend need to be available in, I think that's Australia. I don't know where all acoustic panels are available in terms of like shipping and whatnot. Look, if you are at all handy, even a little bit, and you can build the equivalent of a 2x4, 2 foot wide by 4 foot long acoustic panel for about $20-$30 a panel. You're going to want to go get yourself some Owens Corning or rock wool, or if you're like us and you are inundated with denim, recycled denim packing material all the time, you're just going to put that into a single 1x2 wood frame that you just screw together, pack it in there, and cover it with an acoustically transparent fabric. And if you're ever wondering what's an acoustically transparent fabric, go to a Joann's or your local fabric store, find a color or a fabric you like, hold it up to the light. If you can see a little bit of light come through it, or this might be a little gross, but put the corner of it over your mouth and go, and if you feel wind hit your hand, it's acoustically transparent. Pick whatever fabric you want, wrap it around that frame with the Owens Corning, staple it up, hang it on your wall, get some picture of frame wire or whatever, hang it on your wall. You've got an acoustic panel for $20 to $35, depending on how trick you want to get. Now, if you want an acoustic panel that does more than just absorb, you want diffusion and all of that, those get a little bit more complicated. That may be one of the things that cost more. They shouldn't cost $1,000, but they can cost more. So, but you can also just Google how to build a diffuser or a diffusion acoustic panel, and you will find plans on the internet for probably build them at $50, $60 in material if you want to go that route. All right, let's see. That was, where'd I go? There you are. I recently purchased, Dean writes, I recently purchased the Mission 770 speakers. Grateful for the recommendation to match an amp at 2,000, 3,000 quid. Currently considering name, Audiolab, Yamaha. Okay. The Audiolab 9000A is fantastic with those speakers, and the Yamaha AS1200. I would probably go 9000A. Then Yamaha. I know nothing about the exposure, and I have not heard the Nates. So I love Name. I do. They've come up a lot in this conversation. I just haven't heard everything that they've made. But I have heard the Audiolab 9000A on those speakers, and I absolutely loved them. Oliver, love you too. Which would you recommend? KEF R11 Meta, Q Acoustics, Concept 500. Those were the big ones. Concept 500s. Those are the gray ones with the dog bowls at the bottom. I'm going to go KEF R11 Metas.
Yeah, I love the
Concept 50s, which we have.
Yeah, the Concept 50s are some of my favorite speakers.
Yeah, those are fantastic. They're not quite as full range as the KEF R11 Metas. They are half as much. From the low mid-range on up, they are equally as good, take up a lot less space. They just don't quite scale to the same degree. But I would take the R11 Metas over the 500s.
How many more chats do you have?
Hold on. About 7. We'll cut it off there.
Okay.
I'm getting to them, guys. Except now she just made me lose my place.
Just
there we go.
Real favor. Don't do any more super chats so we can so we can get through what we have left. We've been at this for 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Oh, shoot.
And so
okay.
I'm running out of steam.
Yeah. Okay. Although you often discuss this is Dwayne again. Although you often discuss your reference music tracks in reviews, I'd love to hear more about your favorites collection. By the way, Semvose. Oh, by the way, Semvose Martina, is that a recommendation? If that is, Kristi will Google it here real quick. I'd love to hear more about your favorites collection. For the sake of time, I'm going to say that we do get into that conversation a little bit in Sunday's video that's coming up. This Sunday's video, believe it or not, it's almost like you're telegraphing, because we do talk about favorites versus demo in the discussion of Sunday's video. So you'll get some recommendations there. Jose, own a Blue Sound node. Amp is an Emotiva 3 differential reference, KEF R3s with 2 SVS 3000 subs. What should I upgrade first? KEF reference 1 meta or new amp? Why do you need to upgrade anything? Sounds like your system is great. I mean, don't upgrade just to upgrade. Is something wrong with your system would be the question that I ask. Because if the answer to that question is no, then save your money. Make sure your room's dialed in. Like, is your room all done? Maybe you're a candidate. I mean, you have separates. Maybe you're a candidate to grab a $200, $300 mini DSP device and follow my video about mini DSP to really make sure that everything in your room is perfect. And if not, dial it in for $300 as opposed to spending $3-4 grand on something that may yield the exact same results because they're not treating the problem. That's what I would say. Demand, for personal enjoyment, are you going to replace the B&Ws with another bookshelf? Do you currently have no bookshelves in house? Have not made any decisions on that. We have the Lumina 2 bookshelves and we have the Revel M16 bookshelves. Those are ours. Those are, so we'd still have bookshelves. So we currently have 3 towers and 2 bookshelves. That's what we have. That's our reference fleet. So
how many towers?
We have 3 towers. We have the KEF R11 Metas, the Concept 50s from Q Acoustics, and the Cornwalls. I guess technically we have the Heresy 4s.
Yeah.
Those are currently just in storage at the moment. Are those bookshelves floor standards? Those are kind of an in-between.
Yeah, I think they're in between.
But we do have the Lumina 2s with the matching center, and we have Revel M16s. So yeah. I'm not really itching to buy a new speaker at the moment, to be honest with you. I really like what we have, and I kind of love that this is the least amount of boxes we've had in this house in over a year. And I'm just trying to maybe make it through the holidays where I get to enjoy that. Marantz Cinema 40 or Denon AVC 110, both new, both same price. Sorry, not available in Sony, not available in Australia. Cinema 40 is the one I love. Denon AVC 110 I don't have any experience with, so by default I have to go with the Cinema 40. All right. Hey Andrew, Kristi, love the content. Is there any specific brand you believe that every person should experience? Yes, I believe that everybody should experience like true cost no object speakers with as open a mind as possible. Like, I believe if you can, even though you know that like, oh, I'm never going to do this, you should experience properly set up like Wilson Audio XLF, whatever. You should experience BioLab 90s from Bang & Olufsen. You should experience Bowers & Wilkins 800 Diamonds in a properly set up room. Now, if you go to a dealer and those are just 3 sets of speakers with 6 other speakers in between them all smashed up against the wall, you have not experienced those speakers. But if you were to go to
No, you haven't.
You haven't. Mm-hmm. But if you were to go to a place where it's like, no, this is a listening room just for these speakers, knowing even whether or not you're in the market for them, you should. And you should do that rather than a show. Like, I would travel to a dealer or a retailer that has a properly set up room than I would pay hotel fees and whatever to go to a show to try and bang out 40 demos. Because whether or not you buy them, whether or not you believe that they're worth it, it's going to be a different experience, and it's going to be an experience you likely aren't able to replicate all the time, but it will help you to better identify what you find most important, what is going to be most important, and what may be next for you in your journey. I know in a lot of ways, I put Kristi in front of her first $1 million plus system 4 or 5 months ago. And not to say that she didn't enjoy it, or not to say that it wasn't impressive, but her immediate, like, we got in the car and we were going back to our hotel or whatever, her immediate was like, I just don't need that. And that's its own reward.
What are you talking? Which one?
The $1 million, like the Wilson, the white room.
Oh gosh, it was too much.
It was
too much sound.
Yeah.
And it was too much visually as well.
Yeah.
I much preferred the smaller Wilson speaker.
The Sabrina.
I really, really liked it. But yeah, the other ones were just, it was, I hate to say it, but it was almost like nails on a chalkboard. It was like attacking my ears. It was just,
admittedly, they did have it up a bit loud, but it was a visceral experience.
Yeah, I didn't like it, but I loved the littler ones.
Yeah, and there was a medium-sized room where they're basically whatever the replacement for the Watt puppies were, minus a little bloom in the bass, which admittedly the dealer said that they were still dealing with and figuring out. Those were very good. But what I mean is, like, you can go and be like, okay, now I know where my thresholds are. And this is why I don't shy away from high end, and I don't believe high end is all smoke and mirrors. And I really think that people need, if nothing else, to have certain luxury-like experiences, so that at a minimum your appreciation for how good something in the mid-fi area or just middle of the road area, how good that stuff has gotten. A lot of people are blindly heaping praise onto things where it's like, what are you comparing this to? Because I will admit, like, something, some of these like small amps or whatever, or, cheap products have gotten better. But at the same time, to sit there and say like the experience is the same as that, no, it's not. It's not even remotely close. And so you need to, I always advocate for people, regardless of your budget, to get as wide a spectrum of a view as you can, so that you have a better understanding and appreciation for what you have, and then where to go. I mean, so many questions. We see it in these live streams all the time. It's like, I have, and it's like the list of what has been Stereophile or a blog or a video channel like ours, like what's been our best of over the last 2 or 3 years. And then it's like, well, what do I get next? Nothing. You're great. You're great. You're good.
The bigger question is, or better question is like, why do you think you need something different?
Yeah.
But I'm going to chime in just really quickly. I think if you could get the chance to hear a pair of La Scalas, Klipsch La Scalas,
properly set up,
that is one of the most magical experiences I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't want to recommend this, but the DeVore
Fidelity Orangutan
was my very first, what I consider high-end speaker experience.
Mm-hmm.
I had chills listening to that, and luckily we were in, it was a dealer out of Austin called Whetstone.
Yeah.
Audio. Great guy. Never treated us like we were a burden, or there was no Pretty Woman scenario where they want to check your bank account before they let you in the room, because that does happen, and that's the unfortunate part. When you maybe listen to some of these higher end systems, sometimes the dealer experience isn't very good, but I would recommend those, although I wouldn't recommend buying them because the owner is,
he can be a little bit much. He was rude.
He was so rude.
So
anyway,
Mark, current system Marantz NR1200, Emotiva Basics A2, Heckler Aurora 700s. Worth the upgrade to Stereo 70 as a preamp. Is noisy startup of the 1200 gone? Why don't all our grades have preamps and trigger outs? The noisy startup is gone. Is it worth it to upgrade? I got this question a lot. Unfortunately, we don't have an NR1200. Haven't had one for a while, so I wasn't able to make the direct A-B comparison. And because I wasn't able to make it, I wasn't going to comment on it. Look, if you want better HDMI switching, more up-to-date HDMI switching and HDMI features, and that thunk startup is just a deal breaker, then by all means go get the Stereo 70. Will it be a night and day difference? That I cannot say, because like I said, we didn't have both at the same time. So yeah. Mike, what TV do you recommend with a cap of $1,500? Not a fan of Samsung. Sorry. TV I recommend, cap $1,500. I recommend Sony TVs pretty much across the board. Haven't run into one yet, and I know that haven't run into one yet that I feel is subpar, and I know that there are models that are at that price point. So both OLED, by the way, and LED, QLED, mini LED. I always start there. We've always had a Sony in our reference fleet for the last 4 years going, and that's not going to change. Because they just are that consistent for us. There's probably someone watching this going, I'm on my 900th Sony and they suck. That's not our experience. That's just not. I know some LG OLEDs right now are dirt cheap. LG makes a great OLED, but in my opinion, they do need to be calibrated. That adds to the cost of ownership. That may take you over $1,500. TCL, I have been historically very happy. There's a TCL on our wall right now that I absolutely love to death. That said, I don't recommend the latest 7 series, which would probably fall into that camp because I just can't fully trust it. It looks good. It's what we enjoy outside. It's what you've been watching outside. And for whatever reason... I thought
it was a 6 series outside.
I don't remember.
You said 6 series earlier.
Okay, yeah. Okay, 6 series. I can't recommend the 6, and I know we had some wonky stuff. TCL looks good, and as long as you don't take a meter to the 6 or the 7 series, you'll never know that it's measuring poorly. But yeah, I start with Sony, and more often than not, I end with Sony. So
yeah, I agree.
All right.
Especially if you don't want to have to fuss with...
Yep, custom. Put it in custom 1.
If you don't want to have to fuss with calibration, it's one of the easier TVs to just
set it,
open up out of the box, set it on the wall or the cabinet, and pick the custom profile, movie profile, filmmaker. I know a lot of people don't love that, but I swear to you, if you just put that setting on your TV, walk out of your room for 5-10 minutes, come back, it will not look weird.
Yeah, your visual memory will reset. Okay, Matt, I just purchased the Focal Tiva #1s, I'm tossing up the Denon 1700H, Pioneer 105, Sony 1000. What would you recommend? I would recommend... Ooh, boy. Those are all really good. To be honest, I would love it if it were possible, and I don't pretend to know what your budget is. If you could go up to, say, a Pioneer 305... I think you're going to be better off. If you could get up to an Onkyo 7100, which is under $1,000, I think you're going to be better off with that speaker. I do. Matt, recommendation for a budget center channel speaker. It really is going to depend on what you're surrounding it with. Like, I can sit there and say, I really like the Klipsch RP center, but if you're pairing it with Q Acoustics, it's going to sound off. So I can't really help you there. Follow up on the Agons. I have 2 Velodyne 1200s to help the Logans feel, but I'm missing punch. Then you probably need punch. Like, what is punch? Is that weight or is that impact? Is that snap or is it, because You have a Parasound A21. That should be snappy, but maybe a little bit light-footed. So knowing it should be anyway, if it's not that, then I would say it's your amplifier. It's your amplifier. It's got to be. It's just not driving those Logans. What you should use, you know what? Take them up on their 30-day in-home trial. Just go get the biggest Emotiva XPA Gen 3 stereo amp. It's going to be like $700 or $800, 200, 300 watts per channel. Just get the stereo and just see, because then you're going to know. Because your A21 is like 125 watts. Jump up to something meaty like a XPA stereo Gen 3 and just go for it. Let's just see. Because if that doesn't do it, then it's not the power. You know what I mean? And then you'll know. And you got 30 days to, try it out in your home and figure it out. Are you guys going to review the 98-inch TCL? Yes, it's coming. Hisense, no.
I mean, we haven't
been offered the Hisense, but the TCL is in the works. I think this might be my last one, guys. So again, please don't add any more. I'm trying to get through to everybody. Do you know anything about the Biosound 1 portable CD tuner from the early 2000s? Has aux input for Bluetooth, not much for reviews, 150. The Biosound 1 was actually really good. It was. Admittedly, I have not played with that product in, like you said, it's been 20 years. But it was good. It was good. $150. Excuse me. $150 if it's working and in working to like new condition, it is 100% a steal. Especially if you have a CD collection. All right. Oh man. Fernando, hello guys, glad to see you here. What turntable would be a good start on the vinyl world going to be connected to a V6A? My starter turntable has, and kind of always has been, the U-turn Orbits. They're really solid, very great, very, very good value for money. Project has, what was the green one? Some of these model names, guys, they're hard to keep track of everything. I like U-turn, and then Project's, I think it's a $500 to $700 table. Project would be my other go-to.
Here, I'm gonna link to the Project.
Okay.
In the chat box. That turntable, it is $600.
That one's a really great one.
And it's in a real pretty color.
Yeah. Project makes great turntables, by the way. Taco breakfast burrito, then Lucky. Okay, I'm gonna think. I think you had the conversation going with Kristi on that one.
I have no idea. But thank you, Chris.
Yes, thank you. All right, last question of the day. Yes. Last one. All right, JB, you're gonna wrap up the show. 75-inch Sony X95K versus X90L, $188 price difference. TV and streaming, no gaming. Advice appreciated. If there's only $188 price difference, get the newest model. And what I mean by that is, if one of the K is 2022, X90L.
Well, isn't the 95 a mini LED and the 90 a OLED?
No, OLED is A.
Oh, that's right.
So I believe X95K is last year's 2022. X90L is 2023, and I believe that it is just a software tweak to the 2022.
Did we review the?
We have the X95L, which is its own only 85-inch.
Oh, right.
The 90L is the. Just get the 2023 model. If there's only $188 price difference, pay the little extra more money and make sure you get the 2023 model. That way you're just up to date. All right, guys, that'll do it. That is our stream. I keep telling myself, and I promise this one over here, that I am going to keep it to no more than 2 hours, but I love hanging out with you guys. So you got me for 2 hours and 40 minutes today. 2 hours and 40 minutes. Goes by so fast. It really does. So yeah, that's it. That is our November stream, everybody. We've got a couple of reviews left to get to before our end of the year, which is not at the end of the year. It's kind of mid-December. But our best of is like 3 or 4 episodes away. Really excited for Sunday's video. Dwayne, we do get into music a little bit there in the conversation. I think you guys are really going to like that one a lot. It was surprising to us. And then we've got the big boy over here. The TV coming up. Really excited about that. We're going to have pretty lively discussion for you on that one. And then a couple other things in the works that I'm also very excited about to share with you. So before we sign off, guys, some of you have throughout this stream been asking for Black Friday information, deals, or whatnot. Obviously, thank you to Arylic for helping to sponsor this live stream. We have that link for you right in the description if you want to go save
up to 50%.
Up to 50% on some Arylic gear, and it's definitely worth checking out. So click on that link, see if any of that will work for you. It's a great way to support them, support us. Just let them know that you appreciate the offers that they're extending you.
And so, I will be adding some other specials probably in the community post.
Yeah.
On the community page. If you don't know what that is, you go to our main channel page, and then you'll see the tabs up at the top. It'll say like playlists, live streams. Anyway, and there's one for community. Yeah. And that is where we share like upcoming reviews, or when reviews are live, you can find that there. But that's anytime I see something good on sale, I link it there.
Yeah, we don't really try and like inundate you with like just buy this, buy that, as if we can help it. But we do realize it's getting to that time of the year, so we'll be pointing out some things that we think are worthwhile. It won't be the end all be all list, and I'm sure there'll be other places that, maybe stream for 12 hours, like, look at this, look at that, or they'll have a big old master Excel spreadsheet. But she does a really good job putting together some pretty curated picks. So keep it tuned to the community page for the next probably week.
And that's where you find cool polls like pizza versus tacos.
So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for us. I really, really appreciate what? That scared me.
I'm tired.
Yeah. Anyway, that's going to do it for us, guys. I really do appreciate it. I can't thank you enough for watching and for all of the support, not only now in this moment over the last 2.5 hours, but just in general on the channel. You guys have been fantastic. So thank you so much. We will see you Sunday, but you know how we end it. The only person who has to like the sound of your system is you. So happy listening. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you Sunday for a brand new video.
Oh, and be good to each other.
And be good to each other, always.
That's what my grandma would always say.
That is what she said.
I miss her so much.
I know. So that's it. Be good to each other, and we'll see you Sunday in the comments. We're always live in the comments. So bye, guys.
Bye.